Forza Horizon 5 released back in November of 2021, and over the past 3 years, the developers have introduced a ton of free and paid content to the game. New cars, new map expansions, new features, and so on, for us to go explore, drive around, and basically just have some fun with. Unfortunately though, as of last week and the introduction of the 1995 Ford Mustang, that marks the end of new content for FH5. Or well, at least we think it's the end of new content for FH5. In case you missed it, when the most recent update of FH5 was announced, the developers made this whole big deal about how they're retiring the festival playlist and they're not going to have new festival playlists, and they're kind of done with all of that. And all the festival playlists from this point on are just going to be reusing the old ones from the game. Except fast forward like 2 days later, and the developers are already hyping up a future update called Racing Realms, Horizon Realms. That's going to be the first big content update that goes on Xbox, PC, and the PS5. However, for the purposes of this video, can we just kind of ignore that update and pretend it doesn't exist, or at least pretend it doesn't include anything new? This is probably gonna age really poorly in a couple of months, but that's fine. It's all good. Now that we've got that under control, I can start this video the way I wanted to. Now that all of the new content for Forza Horizon 5 has officially been introduced, I wanted to look back on the past 3 years of content and share my honest review and my honest thoughts of Forza Horizon 5. Ever since Forza Horizon 5 was introduced back in 2021, it's been a controversial game from the perspective of its players, the reviews, and so on and so forth. And today, I wanted to share some of my thoughts and, at the same time, hear what you guys have to say about Forza Horizon 5 now that we've had this game for this long. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the good of Forza Horizon 5, the not so good, and the bad. The really, really bad. I think we can all agree one of Forza Horizon 5's strongest points has got to be the car list. When the game introduced back in 2021, it launched with over 500 cars into the game, and over the past 3 years, the developers have introduced another 400 plus cars into the game, bringing the total to over 900 today. Truly, there is a car for everybody in this game, whether it be the latest and greatest supercar, hypercar, dedicated, proper built-up drag racing cars, old school muscle cars, JDM stuff, Euro stuff, Australian stuff, or even the weird and the wacky stuff. There is something for everyone. And I know saying that is probably going to trigger some people because people always want more and the internet's never satisfied, but straight up, Forza Horizon 5 has one, if not the strongest car list for a racing game probably ever. Building off of that point though, I've also been a big fan of the customization in Forza Horizon 5. Obviously, we're lacking a little bit in the options and maybe depth department as compared to like a Need for Speed or a Crew Motorfest in terms of the visual customization stuff. But I think when you take into account all of the performance stuff you can do, like engine swaps and drivetrain swaps, messing around with weight reduction and roll cages, and then throw in the body kits and all of the third-party manufacturers into that, I think you've got a pretty good customization section in Forza Horizon. I also think the physics of the cars in Forza Horizon 5 are pretty bang on for a simcade racing game in 2025. I know they're not perfect, and I know some small subsections of the community, like the tryhard boys, for example, will definitely be able to nitpick inconsistencies here and there, but let's be honest, that's the case for every tryhard community for every game ever made. So I'm not gonna lie, we've been pretty safe in the things that I've spoke about so far. I think we should start jumping into some of the more controversial things on my list and start poking the bear a little bit. I think personally, Forza Horizon 5 offers an incredible amount of different things to go and do in the game. I think people sometimes forget that Forza Horizon, at the end of the day, is an open world sandbox racing game, and the whole point of it is so you can do what you want, when you want, with whatever car or vehicle you want to do it. In FH5, there is no set path, there is no set goal, there is no larger overreaching objective. It's all designed for you to do what you want to earn credits, buy your favorite cars, go and drive them in any way that you want. And basically, at the end of the day, that means it's up to you to create your own fun in FH5, and you can do that any way you want. And I think at the end of the day, some people are better at that than others, which is why sometimes you see people online saying FH5 doesn't offer a lot to do because it's not a big scripted follow path to end goal. It's make your own fun and drive cars as at your own will. In my personal opinion, I think what Forza Horizon 5 offers is incredible. Being able to go and cruise around the map in your favorite car with your friends, jumping into proper, like, sanctioned races against people online, being able to go and do drifting events, or, like, jumping through danger signs, hitting up rivals leaderboards, things like that. And most importantly, the event lab. I started talking about the event lab back in Forza Horizon 4 before it was even announced. I said that if the developers gave us a custom race feature, it would be the biggest and the best feature we've ever had. And when they introduced it for FH5, I said that it would be the biggest and the best feature they would ever add. And 3 years later, I stand by that. It is, without a doubt, the best thing they've ever added. The sheer amount of creativity shown off by certain members of the community time and time again is truly mind-blowing. Being transported from Mexico and sometimes into other countries, other regions, and sometimes into other planets and worlds, it is unbelievable what the event lab is able to do, and the options and the creativity that you can have in there is mind-blowing, and it is without a doubt my favorite part of FH5. But here's the thing, it's not all good for Forza Horizon 5, because as always, with the good comes the not so good, and I think we need to talk about some of that. Number one, the festival playlist. Although I personally am a big fan of the festival playlists, they've been a thing for 6 years now, if you go back to Forza Horizon 4, and over that time frame, they haven't really changed all that much. Sure, when they came out, they were fresh, they were exciting, they were new, and they were unique. But over those past 6 years, they haven't really changed or evolved that much. I know the developers have introduced, like, the treasure hunts into them, like the riddles and the rival stuff, and that's cool, but they still feel super similar to the way they did back in Forza Horizon 4, for example. Honestly, my hope for the festival playlist as we go into the future and potentially into a new game, I hope the developers push the envelope. I know they may not necessarily want to, because it is without a doubt the developers' best tool of having people come back to the game week in and week out, keep logging in, unlocking new cars, introducing new content into the game and stuff like that. It is a fantastic tool and it works really, really well, but for some of the players who have been doing them since day one, they're getting a little bit on the old side. At least we'd like some new stuff. I feel like we should also talk about multiplayer in this. Now, let's just ignore the server issues. Server issues are just kind of, or they're just kind of a feature in video games in 2025, let's be honest. And I mean, after 2021, the servers for FH5 were actually pretty good. One of my biggest gripes about Forza Horizon 5 is there aren't any real competitive features in the game. Forza Horizon 4 had a great thing with the whole ranked racing thing and the whole Grandmaster drifting thing, and Forza Horizon 5 went, we don't need to be competitive, this is a fun game, you should just race for fun. I understand it's 2025 and everybody needs a participation medal, but it's racing. At the end of the day, somebody stands on the top of the podium and goes, ha, I'm faster than you. That's kind of the way racing works, and I kind of wish it was more of a thing in FH5, and the removal of ranked racing and ranked drifting, if you ask me, was a big L. Not to mention, actually, kind of on the same groove as that, the leaderboards are still filled with so many cheaters, and I understand it might be a lot of work to remove them all and this and that and whatever. I get it, but it's been 4 years almost this game has been out, and nothing's changed. Now, we've finished up with the good, we've finished up with the not so good. I think we need to talk about the bad, and the really, really bad. And if you ask me, there is only one thing that belongs in this category: the map. Now, here's the thing about the map for Forza Horizon 5. On paper, Mexico is without a doubt the biggest map the developers have ever made. It's also the most diverse map they've ever made. But it's only when you go in and you actually start driving around in it, you realize how off it feels. I've tried to simplify this as much as I could. I've broken it down into 3 major issues I think I have with the map. Now, real quick, before I jump into that, I don't actually think it's an issue with Mexico. I think it's an issue with the way Mexico was implemented into this game. Mexico in real life is straight up a beautiful country with unbelievable both driving roads, off-roading areas, incredible cities, and everything in between. Issue number one I have with the map, I don't actually know what this is called. A developer will need to let me know, but I'm going to call them hero areas. You know the areas all around the map where players kind of naturally congregate around? Usually they're areas like a parking garage, for example, or a special Horizon festival, or like an airport drag strip. Areas like that, you know, where players kind of hang out. Naturally, they're fun places for us to go. I actually went in Forza Horizon 5, counted them all up. I counted up 10 key areas around the map, split between the festival, the airport, the off-road racetrack, the stadium, Guanajuato, Playa Azul, so on and so forth. Those sort of areas. There were about 10 of them across Mexico. Keep in mind, that's over the biggest map the developers have ever created. But then I went back to Forza Horizon 4, and I counted up all of the unique places, and I counted 12 over there, split between things again, like the airport, the quarry, the castle, the train yards, the icy frozen lake, Mortimer Gardens, and so on. And again, keep in mind, that's a smaller map than Forza Horizon 5. So you've actually got more unique places in a smaller map than this big map with less places. The density for FH5 is considerably less than FH4. There's not only less places to go and hang out, but the distance between those places is bigger, so it feels more empty as you drive around. Not to mention, issue number 2. I feel like Forza Horizon 5 also struggles with road variety. Watch the road textures while I'm driving around throughout all of these races. I'm pretty sure there's only like 3, maybe 4, 5 different road types in FH5. There's like 2-lane roads, 4-lane roads. There's a couple of unique things in Guanajuato, and that's about it. Think about like when you drive to work or when you drive to school, all of the different road types that you drive on when you're driving to wherever you're going. It's probably like 2-lane roads, 3-lane roads, 4-lane roads, asymmetrical roads, roads with parking on the side of the road, roads with like all of these unique features. Maybe there's a middle divider, maybe there's like larger sidewalks, maybe there's trees on the side of the road, things like that. All of those little things make individual areas feel different. And FH5 kind of doesn't have that variation. It doesn't have that diversity. Sure, the places around the map might be diverse, but where you actually spend your time on the road isn't diverse at all. And I feel like that's issue number 2. And then there's issue number 3, which I think, again, might be a controversial point. Seasons did nothing in FH5. Sure, every now and again, there was like a dust storm you saw way out in the distance and it made your screen orange for like 30 seconds. But that was it. Seasons in Mexico was kind of a waste. I'm just gonna put this idea out there. Feel free to take this idea if it's something you're studying in school, or maybe you do this as your actual job in real life. I think it'd be really fun to watch a video from somebody who understands city planning in real life and watching them break down the road network and the structure of the FH5 map and figuring out why it feels weird. Because it does feel weird, and I can't tell you why. That's not my expertise, but a city planner could. Anyways, feel free to take that idea if you wish. I think it'd be really cool to watch and interesting. So anyways, let's move on. So in conclusion, my honest thoughts on Forza Horizon 5. I think the developers played it very safe, making the transition from FH4 to FH5, and they probably did that to generate as many sales as possible. And if you think of it like that, they nailed it. Forza Horizon 5 has been one of, if not the most popular open world racing games that's released in the past couple of years. It has been the most popular Forza game ever made. And I think functionally and features-wise and numbers-wise, Forza Horizon 5 probably is the best Forza Horizon game ever made. But vibes-wise, maybe not. Thanks for watching.